Reformasi Dispatch podcast on Indonesian politics and policy making with Aaron Cook from Kopi Susu, Flat White.
How you going, Kevin?
Kevin O'Rourke, myself from Reformasi Weekly.
I feel like
hang
we
on,
went from...
Hang on, just a second. It's 28 July.
Oh, yep, got to get that part in.
It's 28 July.
I think it's around
28 July,
5:30.
and later on,
Not
yeah.
bad. How are you? I feel like
and
we were kind of struggling to make a list last week, and this week it's too much. We've got too much news.
yeah, it's amazing. 51 is the number that comes to mind as a starting point. That's the approval rating for Prabowo now, based on a Saiful Mujani survey. And
Yes.
I think that's had a big impact on everything.
Cast a bit of a pall over Astana, do you think? 51
Yeah,
is
and of course,
very
I think it
bad
prompt-
for him.
I think it prompted the president to take some rash decisions, such as removing the central bank head, who resigned supposedly due to personal reasons. But
Oh, I've never wanted to know more desperately what someone's personal reasons are. I never really respect it, but in this case, I need to know. And at least make something up. Give us something.
yeah, I think if it's you have to think about the counter case. If he was sick, he would have said so, because anybody who knows Puerto Gio knows that he's dedicated and determined, and so
He was
would
at
not have
work
done
on Friday. Like, he was meeting
Yeah.
other heads of central banks. He was working.
Yeah, and investors. Yeah, no, I talked to some investors who met with them and said that everything was
Oh, really? They
normal
had no... Yeah.
until it wasn't. Yeah, so
Nice.
yeah, there's a new P2SK law, the financial sector strengthening law revision that came out a couple of months ago, and that has a provision that makes it easier for the president to oust the central bank governor and to insert a new one for a full 5-year term. So that was written in there deliberately for this, and so
Well,
basically,
that's it. This is something that you flagged at the time. We talked about... You saw this sort of coming, but did you see it coming now? Just seemed a bit odd to 8 a.m. on
No.
one random Monday.
Yeah, and there were expectations that something like this might happen back in May, but then it looked as if Perry had survived and, in fact, was able to implement interest rate hikes that helped stabilize the currency, and so things seemed more or less hunky-dory. Another aspect of that at the time was the idea that there was a need for a new finance minister, and so Prabowo was considering replacing Purbaya, and Purbaya has always wanted to be BI governor, so the thought was that Purbaya would slide over, Perry would get ousted. But then that didn't happen, and Prabowo decided to stick with Purbaya anyway, and then Purbaya has had some successes lately, especially with regards to state revenues. So it's all, that's why I have to suspect it has to do with the poll rating, and Prabowo needs to find a reason, if nothing else, for his own mind, for why there has been this failing and who's responsible, because it can't be him. So have to be somebody else. It wouldn't be somebody that he himself selected and appointed, but somebody that Joko Widodo put in place. That makes more sense. Even though actually he's the literally one guy who's doing a good job, is Perry Wargio. So this is a big blow, and then the rumors about who might replace him are unsettling.
Well, this is it. So I've thought it was interesting how frequently or how strongly Destry Damayanti, who's stepping up as interim governor, has stressed, like, I'm interim, I'm the in-between gal, I'm not going to be here for the long haul. How long would you expect a process to take from here? How long will she be in that seat before we get whoever's coming next? And is that going to be Tommy?
No, I'm not so sure it is going to be Tommy. The process does require Parliament, and they are out of session now until Independence Day. So it's going to be 3 weeks anyway.
She'll be there for a minute.
Yeah. Some people say that she could stay there for a longer period of time. There's a lot of rumors swirling, basically, but yeah, Prabaya shifting over is still something that, in my mind, is conceivable, and that would be really detrimental because he's really ill-suited for that job. He's, like I said last time, he's a bull that carries his own china shop with him everywhere he goes. And that's the last thing you want in a guy job. But yeah, Thomas G. Wandono is the nephew of Prabowo, whose father had been BI governor in the 1990s during the crisis when BI hiked interest rates to 75%, while the government BI simultaneously printed money 24/7, rising the worst case scenario. Uh, so Sudrajat Jiwandono's ally at that time was Burhanuddin Abdullah, and his ally subsequently was Muliaman Haddad, who became head of the Financial Capital Regulatory Agency during severe scandals in the late 2010s. And so he's a candidate for BI governor now.
Yeah.
As is Burhanuddin Abdullah. There's rumors about Abdullah himself taking up the post, even though he's in his late 70s. So
Back to work.
he's a corruption convict. He spent 2 years in prison, Burhanuddin Abdullah, for using central bank funds to pay for the defense of Sudrajat Jiwandono, who had been under indictment for the actions of the central bank during the crisis.
Oh, that's a cracker of a story. Basically, everything I've read about this, right at the bottom, has a little line about this is really freaking out investors. Markets went straight down. Has that corrected? And everything's a little bit back on track for the time being?
No.
No? Mayhem for a while.
Yeah, it's really a pity because it had been looking as if there might have been some mellowing of sentiment or an amelioration, because there's been a lot of focus on the fiscal balance, but that kind of took care of itself in that the government's biggest program, the free meals MBG, has failed to come even close to its spending targets for this year. So that in and of itself took a lot of the pressure off the fiscal account for 2026 anyway. And then, like I mentioned, state revenues have been pretty good. So there was some respite basically, but now the focus is not fiscal policy anymore, but is it's on monetary policy, and is that going to be appropriate going forward? And because it's so crucial, and it's a very delicate task, and Perry was extremely adept, if anything, too adept. He really operated a lot of levers and manipulated, or not manipulated, but operated the central bank very exquisitely. And so, but he did so because he had credibility built up over 6 years. He accomplished a lot during that time: the non-deliverable forwards, the Q-risk payment system, and other stuff. So the investors were comfortable with him, and nobody's going to be able to fill his shoes, even the best possible candidate, for some time yet. So it's just going to cause more uncertainty among creditors at a time when Indonesia is borrowing larger sums all the time.
Would you expect to see Perry sort of coming out and letting us know what's going on? Like, would you see him sort of sitting down with Bloomberg or anything? No.
No,
We need
I don't
to
think
tell
that would
all.
be his style.
Yep.
It's another technocrat fallen by the wayside. There was Sri Mulyani. Then there was the head of the OJK, the Financial Sector Regulatory Agency, Mahendra Siregar, who was forced out basically back in February, and now Perry Warjio and others as well, for that matter. But those are the big three. So it's really a further emphasis of the trend towards bringing in personal loyalists to centralize things around the office of the president.
Yeah. Well, do you think that's going to bump up his 51%?
Yeah, I mean, if they kind of just tap into the resources of the central bank to disperse cash assistance, that's
Nice little sugar hit to come, I imagine, for everybody.
in the short term. Yeah, not healthy for the long term or even the medium term, but in the short term, yes. Yeah, and this is not the only one that happened this week. The other one is the BGN, the nutrition agency. There's been a change in the head of the BGN too. So it's Sudaryono is one of the quote unquote Hambalang boys of a loyalist of the president who replaces Nenik Dayan, who had been appointed just 2 or 3 months ago. So that's another instance of sort of a consolidation and centralization over the government's biggest program, heading the MBG.
Yeah, so this is very much a technocrats out of here. We want my guys to be running the show.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, the problem with MBG, is that there's been a turf battle between security forces, the police and the army, and so there's been a spate of arrests and counter arrests and exposure of corruption, and so turmoil, and the program has fallen short of its spending, as mentioned. So
Yeah.
I think it's a case of the president finally deciding that this should not belong to either the police or the army, but rather to this this group that's ideologically, personally devoted to him. This group includes people like Teddy and Prasetyo Hadi and Simon Mantiri, the CEO of Pertamina. They're all graduates of the military prep school Taruna Nusantara that Prabowo helped found in the 1990s. And it's great that they're loyal, but Sudaryono, for example, has never headed any organization before, and now heading the largest program.
The biggest budget in town. Yep. Okay, so what does that mean for kids who had a bit of stomach aches a couple of months ago with their free lunch meal? Are they kind of saying, we're getting it all together, we're fixing it up, new face leading the agency, let's go?
Yeah, and that's possible, but it's very much remains to be seen because is Sudaryono going to be effective or not? It's hard to tell based on his record, and there's also the head of the presidential staff, which is Dudung Abdurrahman, former chief of the army, but I think somebody. I'm not sure where he's aligned with actually, but he's been paying a lot of attention to the program too, and so yeah, hygiene is a focus that they're trying to fix, and so it's possible that they could make some improvements, but the budget's being cut just because they haven't been able to do the spending that they wanted. So it's
Is that
going
part
to be
of
a
why the polling sort of tanked for Prabowo in the last? Because when was it from? It's from the start of July. Is it? Is a lot of that to do with the MBG? Like, it hasn't rolled out as far as it was supposed to, and in the places it has, it kind of sucks.
It's possible. I kind of doubt it. I mean, the other polling was done by Indopoll in late May, and that showed
Yeah.
that the MBT was the most popular
Like, super
government
popular,
program
yeah.
by some margin. Yeah. So I don't think it would have. I don't think that perception would have changed very much
Yeah.
between that Indopoll survey then and this Saiful Mujani survey, which was done during the third week of July. The Saiful Mujani survey, I'm pretty sure, probably reflects the furor around Joey Soprano. I mean, Febri Adrianza.
Yes.
I was getting
So
confused.
so poor February, he is now officially detained. Is that correct? I've seen photos of him in the back of vans being shuffled from one building to another. But you're saying he can't be held in AGO detention for his own safety. He's a prosecutor, a former prosecutor now, I suppose. Can't be held in these cells with these guys that he was prosecuting. So over to the KPK.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we talked about last time. He went from witness to suspect to witness to suspect to witness to suspect. So then he wasn't detained initially, even though the other figure, Don Rito, whose name actually does sound like Joey Soprano, did get detained. And so that created a lot of negative press headlines. And so therefore the AGO finally did detain Febri, which the whole thing is awkward, right? Because he was the key person in the AGO as the deputy AG for special crimes. And so an official from the AGO said that, yeah, there's people in the AGO detention facility that February put there. So for peace of mind, there's
Oh
a
yeah.
preference that he undergo detention with the KPK. That's probably February's own request. But then the thing is that when he was arraigned, or brought in and taken into custody, he wasn't wearing the orange vest, and so
Mm.
it
That's good. He's
raises the
actually
question
wearing
that,
quite nice
yeah,
batik. Yeah.
if you're not wearing the orange vest, are you really
That's it.
in detention?
You got to do it.
Like when a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it. It's like
So what happens to him now? So he's detained. Investigations are continuing, or are we going to see a trial anytime soon?
right, yeah. It's not even clear why he's detained. Actually, the police had three
Yeah,
different
right.
cases that they explained about
Could be the
February.
gold. It could be the cash. Could be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The police had cases relating to state enterprises, basically, and also extortion of suspects in cases that February prosecuted. But the AGO has detained him supposedly they have detained him on money laundering charges. And that's significant because money laundering is a tougher crime. It carries very long penalties.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the AGO hasn't said what money was laundered. There's no details. So, um, yeah, this could go in any one of several different directions. And lots of times these things hinge on witness testimony. And in this case, there's one key witness who's no longer with us.
Yeah.
They found his corpse in a empty office building. So he was believed to have been the head of the household, sort of the manager of the staff of February's house, and his body was recovered on Friday um, at a disused uh, um, office building 400 meters from February's house, and so that's being investigated by police.
Yeah, that is very, very grisly. That's not a normal thing. What does that kind of speak to the stakes of this case here, or is this just a grim outlier?
No, this is life and
This
death
is
all
how
the way
big this
around.
is.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh god, poor guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, plenty of events. I mean, that's just scratches the surface, really, because the police, meanwhile, are going after Ogriseno, who was a vice national police chief a decade ago, or a little longer, actually, 2013, and
Yep.
that was just an interesting little thing because the police normally don't do that. He would be the highest ranking figure ever pursued by the police if they developed this case, and they've summoned him for questioning. And it basically is because he has sided with Joko. He has sided with the accusers of Joko Widodo in the whole
Oh,
controversy
in
or
the diploma story. Is
the
the diploma
diploma
story?
contest.
Oh god.
Yes.
This thing won't end. I'm so sick of the bloody diploma story. Like, God, who even cares at this point? It's driving me nuts.
Well, yeah. So yeah, long
Wow.
story
So they're
short,
coming for him.
the police are just not even hiding their allegiances anymore. So they're willing to go after one of their own former vice national chiefs just because he served as an expert witness on behalf of the defense in the trial of Roy Sorio, the accuser of Joko Widodo. So anyway, yeah, this and then
That's
Prabowo himself made headlines too last week. He was
oh, yeah.
railing against again.
I have one of those. I love trying to friends in Australia often ask me, like, they'll see a headline, be like, "What's this? What's this about?" And I'll say, "Oh, it's the free meals or whatever." But this one with the journalist, this was a tricky one to explain. It's like
Yeah, he was talking
there's a
about
couple of
Lauren Yijen, right?
yes. So there's a sort of layers to this as an insult, isn't there? So it's I saw you translated it as turncoat, but it's also translated quite often as Black Dutchman. So it's sort of like a traitorous, um, sort of derogatory term. Um, is that kind of an old school one? I've only really rarely heard that. Like I have, some of the first time I've heard it, but it's no, okay.
Londo Ireng, actually. So Londo being a vernacular of Belanda, Londo, and Ireng is sort of a word for black. So Black Dutchman, yeah, literally. Londo Ireng. That was new to me. I hadn't come across that one before. I had to look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Because yes, he was I mean, he's never super stoked to be talking to the media pack, but uh calling them all that is a bit much. So what wound him up with them that day?
Um,
Anything.
I'm not even sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to work it
It's
out. He just seemed to go on a bit of a spray.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. 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 Critics are uh, uh, traitors to the nation, and they're working with foreigners because we all know that foreigners want to undermine Indonesia because
Mm.
Indonesia
That's
is
what
weak and
foreigners love,
chaotic.
investing in media.
Yeah. So it's more of the same, basically. But
Yeah.
yeah, these things they hurt every time it comes out. It just makes it that much more difficult for um, investors to have confidence in the currency, and it makes it more difficult for organizations and businesses to commit to Indonesia. It makes it harder for Indonesians to collaborate with foreigners, whether we're employees or employers or partners. It's the Indonesian person has to consider whether they're going to be at risk of being derided because they are collaborating with foreigners, even though Prabowo himself collaborates with foreigners on a regular
All the
basis.
time, yeah.
That's totally different. Yeah.
Well, I liked the point that you made in your newsletter on Friday as well, that it sort of, comes across like he's conceding that the country is at this really, really, tough inflection point towards failure. It's like, yeah, it's kind of saying, "Yeah, this isn't what I'm s yeah, like, it's not, these guys are winning. These guys are turncoats, and they're winning over the, the country, and they are winning and making it fail," which I thought was a very odd one.
Yeah.
I think that's a good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. It's a bit dramatic. So um, it really is pretty much the same old message, though. I mean, he's been doing this for a while now. My concern really is that it may feed through into this rumored decree in lieu of law, or PERPU, on anti-foreign propaganda the
Yeah.
defense minister supposedly proposed earlier this year, and hasn't resurfaced. But these kind of messages from the president suggest that maybe it could, especially given the whole shakeout between the police and the army, and Dasco and Safri respectively over the February
Yeah.
case. So who knows?
Yeah, that's not a bad point, sort of little seeds being planted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, because yeah, Tempo's done great reporting about what's happened between these institutions and their backers, and uh, um cited uh, knowledgeable sources as saying that 2 weeks ago, Safri asked that the president sack the police chief, and the president considered it, but Safri wanted Carioto, and that was somebody that Prabowo regarded as being potentially disloyal, so it didn't happen.
Yeah. We're in a bit of a golden era of tempo reporting, I think. Seems to always be
Yeah,
the trickier the government is, the better tempo is, and it's a bummer, but we're blessed to have them.
they really are generally fantastic right now.
Mm.
Yeah, the amount of detail they're turning up on a weekly
Yeah.
basis.
Oh,
This
yeah.
latest issue that came out yesterday was features a lot of connections between February, and kind of maps out his shareholdings and those of his sons, and how they overlap with Don Rito, and Haji Islam is involved as well. I haven't really
Of
studied it
course.
yet. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes without saying.
What
So that's yeah.
what do you make of that, though? Does that kind of say that, there are concerns within these sorts of agencies and people are quietly approaching Tempo to say, like, "This is what's going on?"
Yeah, yeah. So Tempo is benefiting from the rifts, and as much as the president himself bashes Tempo, basically,
Yeah.
the people close to the president are earnestly using Tempo
Yeah.
to deliver jabs at their opponents. So it's a
So it's
case in
working.
point. Yeah, it's the crucial function of the media in a democracy for now. Um, but yeah, and then so we should turn to Stephen Handoko,
Yes, he's got an important one.
yeah, our stalwart producer and reporter and brains behind the operation. How you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing good, Kevin. How are you? Hi, Aaron.
Good. Yeah,
He's
we
Stephen.
were yeah. So you can update us about this development regarding the Islamic Clerics Council, the MUI, which is lobbying for an anti-LGBT bill, and there were some developments towards that end just recently that you were following, I think.
Right. So on the 24th and then 26th of July, the MUI or the Islamic Cleric Council is, they are having a Congress of Indonesian Muslims at Bidakara Hotel in Jakarta. And before that, Holil Nafis, the deputy head of MUI, is teasing on his Instagram on this new anti-LGBTQ bill. Basically, it's about the law said it's about prevention and mitigation of LGBTQ people, and they are basing this on the presidential regulation number 111 that considers LGBTQ people as a a threat, a non-military threat. So, but it goes beyond that, and what the law, the draft law here is saying that it's going to criminalize sexual acts and like indecent acts from LGBTQ people. Um, so it's as much as you expected. It's really crazy because what I have is not the final version of the draft. They said that there are still changes, but it's unclear what the changes are. But the one I saw, actually, the draft says that it can punish sexual acts between people of the same sex up to 9 years in prison. Uh, it's really, and what I find interesting is that the language here is using what is similar to the TPK's law in 22, or the anti-sexual violence, because they are using the terms like abuse of power or sexual exploitation, something that you consider
Oh,
as like progressive
gosh.
activists, which I would
Yeah.
note that the MUI rejected the anti-sexual violence
Yeah.
bill,
Yeah.
but then they're using this language on LGBTQ people. So it's really, uh, something that very, yeah, I don't like it. Another
I never
point,
would have suspected such hypocrisy.
yeah. Another point is I find very interesting is, the term we say sometimes LGBT or LGBTQ or LGBTQI, they specifically mention that the I or intersex people are not going to be punished because in Islam they consider it as kunsa, or they said it's a medical condition, and it's even there, if there are
Oh,
punishing them,
interesting.
it will be contradictory to their own fatwa, which I find very interesting. So they are using the term LGBTQ. It includes the queer as well,
Like
but
very
queer
specifically.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's because
Yeah.
also the purpose is using that term LGBTQ. So they are going to do with it. And also, interestingly, I asked Kolel Nafis whether the men who are wearing like women's clothing are going to be punished with this, and he said no, because it's not a sexual acts, and they are going to just punish the. I mean, not just sexual acts, but like kissing also, it's going to be punished with the law. But although kissing might be just maximum of 1 year, but again, this is it is usual trope of when they are using this as, especially when the Anwar Iskandar, the head of MUE, opening the Congress by saying that these are a great concern of the people, and then he doesn't want people to go back to the the time of Prophet Lot, which the story of Sodom Gomorrah, it's very
Oh,
much
wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
point.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
this is
Prophet
a very high priority for them.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the organization.
Although,
Wow.
yeah, they did say that they are going to send it at the end of the Congress on Sunday, but then Nasaruddin Umar was there, and I asked if they are presenting the bill to Nasaruddin Umar, but then they said, "Oh no, because this is not the concern of the religious affairs. I think they are going to present it to Israel and to DPR Parliament." So at this point, I don't
So
know when they're going to present it, but soon, I think.
So yeah, Nasruddin Umar is the religion minister, and he came into office with a reasonably moderate background. He had headed the National Istiklal Mosque and even got consideration as vice presidential nominee at one stage. But and then Yusril is the coordinating minister for law, who himself founded one of the most hardline Islamic parties. And Yusril always has agendas and plans and is thinking ahead, like we talked about last week. So
Yeah.
So far, the stance of the government is a little bit wait and see. Or are they playing? I guess they're obviously currying favor with the MUI and supporting it insofar as Nazaruddin Umar himself, the minister, attended this conference. Correct?
Yeah. Nasaruddin Umar mentioned the same purpose and considered as a threat, basically non-military threat, with like other concerns such as atheism or illegal trafficking or gambling, stuff like that. But when it was asked, at the press conference, he tried to tone it down and say, "Look, there's not a justification for violence against LGBTQ people," which is the same as what Israel said, that this is a military doctrine, and it's not going to be used for vigilantes violence that we saw recently pop up in Bogor or in wherever. I don't quite remember where else, but it's just, I think it's them
That's good.
trying to balance it out by giving this MOE someone who they are going to be the one who write in, and maybe they will then legislate this. But if you're saying that that this is not a justification for violence, then you should uh, arrest those people who conduct violence on LGBTQ people,
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
women or gays. But because there's no consequences in doing that, and if there's no consequences, then it seems like an approval from the state to do just that. It has
Yeah,
to be.
absolutely. And there's laws
Yeah.
on the books already for that. That you don't need to do anything extra. That's already just assault in the street.
Yeah, it's also they are trying to Emily, I think, trying to walk a fine line, and they said, "Oh, sexual orientation is not something to be criminalized, it's just the act." But the women, the trans women walking down the street didn't do anything, but then they get attacked. And there's even if there's a law that is passed by Emily, it doesn't cover trans women just walking around. So you should really, as a state, you have to protect your own people. It feels very grim right now. If it actually, I think, will encourage people to do worse. There's also a provision in which they said that there has to be a rehabilitation for their sexual
Oh
orientation,
God.
although it's unclear what exactly they mean by
Yeah.
rehabilitation, whether it's by religion or social or psychological. It's it's again, it's grim to me.
Yeah, it'd be nice if the president were to take a stance. On the one hand, Prabowo, at least in recent years anyway, has not exploited this issue for sectarian ends the way some politicians have over the years. And Prabowo's own son did it. Hedi Prasetyo is a single former Parisian fashion designer. So, this is something that can hit close to home to the first family. So presumably that may provide some degree of reassurance. But on the other hand, Prabowo has also been supplicating to the MUI for political purposes, because Prabowo's stance with regard to Trump and Gaza and Iran have been problematic for the important political Islam fold in Indonesia. And so therefore Prabowo gave a hugely valuable land plot right on the Hotel Indonesia roundabout. It used to be the British embassy, to the MUI for their headquarters. So yeah, this is going to be one to watch, how it unfolds, how it plays out.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
But
scary.
are you surprised that, I mean, you see social media, there are people who are supporting this vigilante attacks and they're mocking at the trans women. I don't know if I should be surprised or not, but it's really scary. I thought at first that these are just bots, paid bots, but then if you look at uh their profile, it's not something that pops up like a week ago.
Mm,
These are people who have already.
real people.
So it seems that this kind of works, this distraction that they're doing, on attacking these minorities. So it seems very
I think
scary.
it's like a local expression of a really big global trend, which is horrible. And instead of pushing back against it, the organizations like MOE or ministers are sort of, yeah, as you say, Kevin, taking advantage of it, which is, I don't know, like there's no reason to be swept up by it either. Like this is happening, especially in the UK, but there's no reason why Indonesia needs to fall down the same hole as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, when political leaders mobilize hatred, then they have to have a place to focus it.
Yeah.
In the opposition, it's very easy. They can just focus the hatred on the people in power, but then once they themselves are in power, they have to find new
And
targets.
there is no opposition. Yeah. What do you do?
Exactly.
All right. Well, yeah. Speaking of garbage, that's one of the easiest segues. Is I know that you took a trip yesterday. You were at Bantar Gebang. So yeah, I think you were there because there's a policy announcement to promote recycling and limit the disposal of waste from Jakarta to this gigantic landfill in Bekasi, and that policy was put forth this month, and also 2 years ago, and also 2 years before that, and 2 years before that. And I've heard this policy 15 times over the past 30 years. Great policy. It's never actually come to fruition, but I'd like to just hear you describe Bantar Gebang, because it's something that I think is mind-blowing for people who grapple with it for the first time.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was there yesterday, and so Bandar Gebang is the huge landfill, like 110 hectares on the outskirts of Jakarta in Bekasi, and you see those trucks keep going and dumping. So at now it's still an open dumping place, and you can. The number is about 6,500 to 7,000 tons a day. So imagine that, and you can see like garbage pile up to 50 meters. Um, that's and just to refresh us that in March there are several people who are dead from buried from the trash. These are the garbage collectors or the pemulung, and then the government I think decided that you should do something about it, and so they are trying to stop it as a open dumping place and convert it into more a controlled landfill. So they in August this year they will only accept like residues from the household, and for the other trash they will have to for a household to manage it in either their home or in their community. So for example, your organic trash can be sent to the composting place, or the other ones can be sent to the bank sampah that managed by the Jakartan government, and they expected to have a reduction on this place, and they are also trying to. There are many zones in the Bandar Gebang, so when they are starting this, the the residue will go to one zone, and then after 7 days they are not going to be dumped again, and have to move to another zone. And they are using like a geomembrane to like tamp down on this trash, and so it will reduce the smell and try to help with the composting uh, process of this trash.
Yeah,
And
there finally. So I don't care about any of that stuff, Stephen. All I wanted to hear about was the smell. Finally, you get to the
it's
smell.
yeah. I mean, it's so bad. It's so bad that even the government, Jakartan government, is giving compensation to the people around there. 4,000 taka for
Yeah.
400,000 a
What
month, but it's paid by
what's that?
every
What's that
payment.
called? The name of that payment is a funny name. What's it called? It's the smell compensation fee or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, something like that. Yeah, compensation for the smell. Which,
Were you nauseous from the smell?
uh, I luckily I have my KN35 mask, so not
Yeah, got the
quite.
full shebang.
Yeah, try to hold my breath too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
You got to
amazing
do
that
laundry. When you
there's
get home, you got to do
community
laundry. Yeah, the Pamulang, there's whole communities of garbage pickers and
yeah,
collectors there, right?
yeah. And I also talked to like some of them, and they said that if if they are going to just throw residues, that means there will be no recyclable material they can collect there. So it
Oh,
will be
interesting. So
like
this is
a
a fun tale
problem
for
to their
them.
livelihoods, right?
Yeah.
And even then, they don't get too much, because usually they will get collect like 200 kilos a day of trash, and that will be like not much. I mean, it could be 200,000 rupiah for the entire day. And if then there isn't no water bottles or like cardboard to collect, what are they gonna do? Because they don't get compensation. They want to get compensation upon people living there. Some pemulung live there, so they get compensation. But if they don't live there in that kecamatan, then they will not get the money. So there sometimes it's kind of hard, because these are people who are already working since the 90s, and they're not sure what to do if the Gandar Gabang is closing down.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you how confident are you that this new city plan is going to work out the way they say it is?
Oh, it's it's kind of hard.
It seems
because,
ambitious to me. Yeah.
no, but the problem with the one in Jakarta, there I don't really know where to send this. Where is the bank sampah in my area? I'm not even sure. Or where to do composting, because usually in my house there's just like someone who will collect the garbage, and I don't even bother with separating the garbage there.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
starting on August, you have to do it. But it's
Yeah.
still unclear where to put the trash there.
All right.
Yeah.
Need a bit of a PR campaign first.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's
Shall I
a
say?
little bit too abrupt, perhaps. It's a great goal, but it's got to be
It's gonna be hard.
rolled out in a practical way with the right incentives and preparation and training. It's a city of 9 million people, so it's not going to be easy. But the story you mentioned, Stephen, from back in March, Kompas wrote a beautiful long article about what happened there, because they quoted a guy who had been up on the giant garbage mound picking for garbage, and there was a woman, meanwhile, who managed a kiosk at the bottom of the mound, serving tea to the drivers who were parking their trucks in a queue, and the people that worked there in the community. And she looked up and saw that the mound was collapsing, and there was a landslide, sort of a garbage slide. And so she yelled out to this guy who had his back turned, and yelled at him and made him aware. And so he started running, and he was able to kind of surf down the garbage slide and survive.
Wow.
Yeah, and then he talked to the Compass reporter, but he said that the woman who had warned him was buried, and they couldn't, excavate her, so she died.
Oh,
So this guy was crying. Yeah, that was quite a piece of journalism.
Yeah.
oh well.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Stephen.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks.
the good work, huh?
Yeah, hopefully we don't have any updates on that first story, and then lots on the second one.
Yeah. The other one we got to talk about is the ASEAN Foreign Ministers Meeting, right? And what's going on with Myanmar there?
Yeah, I just wanted to catch up on that one because a couple of weeks ago we were talking about Myanmar, and at that point it was quite I don't know, it was a bit of a stalemate for Myanmar and ASEAN, where we're still very much at the are they in, are they out sort of phase. But with last week's huge foreign ministers conference, and everybody was coming. Your Marco Rubio came, and Wang Yi came over from Beijing. So, so you know all the big names.
Object.
Your little Marco. So Myanmar was sort of unusually big part of the summit this time around, because often it's, I don't know, poor old Philippines. It's like either that or South China Sea, and neither can be solved, especially by the Philippines. But so Tess Lazaro, the Filipino foreign secretary, she was asked about it repeatedly throughout the whole week, and she's sort of reiterated that without a bit of movement on the 5-point consensus, which is this bit of a dud plan from years ago of what now the junta and now the military government has to reach before they're allowed back into ASEAN. And she says, we haven't seen any progress here, and we need to be seeing progress before we even discuss getting these guys back to the table. Though, as she's saying that, Thailand still seems very keen to get them back into the table whenever they feel like. So I think we're at a bit of a, I don't know, bit of a almost I almost said crossroads. So sorry to jinx that, but I think that's where we're at here, because China and India have both already said this is the government, this is the Burmese government, we'll deal with these guys. And if Thailand's going to do it, then I think, I don't know, Indonesia's not the player in ASEAN that it was under Retno Marsudi. She was very happy to stand up against this. I'm not convinced that Sugiyono is as is as much of a fighter or a true believer as she was. So I wouldn't be surprised if Indonesia kind of let it slid. And if they do, then everybody kind of does.
Right. Yeah, it's a real slippery slope then. Yeah. And so there's no real indication of Indonesia's stance so far from Sugiyono?
No, nothing at all. I found it really disappointing. I kind of keep waiting. He barely made an impact last week. And it's hard because there are huge names that were there. And it was so South China Sea focused as well. But yeah, he just is not, he's not that guy. He's not, Retno Marsudi or Mahdi or anybody like that. He kind of just shows up, doesn't he?
Yeah, so I agree. I think ASEAN definitely is at a course of two paths that intersect perpendicularly. All right. Well, have we got anything else, or should we wrap it up at this point?
No, I think, I think we've got most of it. It's been too big of a week. I just can't believe that last week we were like, oh God, what are we going to talk about? And now.
All right. Yeah. Thanks.
I'm going to get to bed. Good night, guys. Yeah. Thanks for jumping in, Stephen. That was good stuff to hear about. It was so interesting.
Okay.
I thought it was garbage, actually. I mean, it was. No, never mind.
All right, guys. And that's the pod. Our editor is Stephen Hendogo. Music by Blue Dot Sessions. To get a free trial of Kevin's newsletter, head to reformasi.info and check my newsletter, Diary Mullet Care Mullet, at diarymullet.substack.com. I'm Erin Cook. We'll see you next week.